Neuro-Linguistic Sales Programming, NLSP, the newest approach in selling today. But does it really work? This is Century Park East in Los Angeles, California. On the 15th floor is a small investment firm which is doing billions of dollars worth of business. Meet Joseph Patterson, chairman of the board for Patterson Capital Corporation. This year, his company is managing over $3 billion for major industries throughout the United States. While there are other factors which contributed to this success, NLSP clearly played a major role in helping this investment firm become significantly more effective. And Toshiba Medical, headquartered in Tustin, California, made a dramatic move from 2% of the U.S. market to better than 5% of all X-rays, ultrasound, and CAT scanners sold in America, all during a 3-year period. NLSP was attributed as one of the significant contributing factors leading up to this remarkable move. Tom Olds, who sells wind turbines for Zond Incorporated, also discovered what NLSP can do. After adding these techniques to his selling, Tom's earnings went from $32,000 to $247,000. The following year, they reached $450,000. And this is Ed Michaels, the #1 salesman for one of the largest retail chains in America. After using NLSP, Ed's income went from $43,000 to $78,000. And today, Ed earns $180,000 in retail sales, in part because of NLSP. What then is Neuro-Linguistic Sales Programming? Why has it helped these people become so successful? What hidden advantage does it apparently give those who use it? That's what this film is all about. This is Dr. Donald Moyne, founder and president of the Association for Human Achievement. In an interview, he reveals many of the hidden techniques used by some of the most successful salespeople in the world.
As both a psychologist and a sales consultant, I've spent the last 13 years of my life studying some of the most successful salespeople in the world. I've discovered what they do that other salespeople don't do. And out of this, we've developed neuro-linguistic sales programming. A fundamental part of this system is what we call the science of building trust and rapport. We have found that highly successful salespeople build an unusually deep and high-quality sense of trust and rapport almost from the first moment of contact. Now, this may not seem new. As a matter of fact, it may seem as basic as Sales 101. But what is new is the quickness and the quality that they put into building this deep and lasting sense of trust and rapport with almost anyone they meet. How do they do this? From the very first moment of contact, they start matching the body language, the opinions and beliefs, the speech rate and volume, and each step in step, you can trust me. Basically, then, there are 6 techniques that superior sellers use to create this bond with their customers. And I think that by taking a closer look at each of these techniques, you'll see many ways that you can use them every day to create your own hidden advantage in selling.
The first of the 6 techniques top salespeople use involves matching or mirroring a customer's body movements. This mirroring action has proven to be one of the most powerful ways to build trust, primarily because it creates an atmosphere of agreement below the conscious level of the customer. So let's examine the hidden force behind this technique, and keep in mind that in this first section of the film, some of the following scenes are taken from actual candid footage. For instance, notice how this saleswoman matches or mirrors body movements to that of her customer. First, watch the customer's hand move into his pocket. Now see how the saleswoman's hand moves into her pocket. A seemingly simple move, instinctively done, that builds a bond between them below the conscious level. Here the customer gestures, and then so does she. And little by little, she gains his trust by making him feel comfortable, by creating an atmosphere of agreement that subtly says, we're alike. Now notice how in this case, the salesman on the left is careful not to mock or mimic the exact movements of the customer. Instead, he closely matches what the customer is doing. So when the customer makes this obvious move, the salesman follows with one that is less obvious. The same subtle mirroring action is true for this salesman on your left. Every move this salesman makes appears as natural and subtle as the next. And the image he creates as he uses this technique is one of sincerity, credibility, and trust. There are times, however, when the simple act of matching someone's body movements happens so quickly or subtly, we need to watch it in slow motion to be able to see it. First, watch the customer on your right. Notice how she crosses her legs, closes her hands, and taps her fingers together. Now, watch the salesman. He crosses his legs and puts his hands into a position that's similar to hers. But now, watch his fingers as they start tapping together. Without realizing it, this salesman even matches the tempo or rhythm of his customer's tapping motion. Dr. Moyne's research has shown that the customer isn't aware of this on the conscious level, but subconsciously, she senses that this salesman is trustworthy, that he is genuinely interested in helping her make the best buying decision. And watch how this saleswoman matches body movements in almost perfect harmony to that of her customer. First of all, keep an eye on the customer's hand movements. Notice how he moves his hands out and away from his body. She's so closely in step with this customer that when he starts to bring his hand back in, she automatically brings her hand in at the same time he does. And again, she moves her hands in perfect sync with his. She even nods her head in harmony with the up and down motion of his hands. And notice how their eyes are even in sync. She continues to match him with subtle movements and gestures that subconsciously say, "I'm like you. We're in sync. You can trust me." In fact, subtlety is probably the key factor in matching body movements. Obviously, if you're not careful, you can overdo it. As you can see, exaggerated or exact mirroring can be perceived as insincere or even insulting. So as a rule, when you're mirroring someone's body movements, remember to underplay rather than overplay. If you want to see how your customer feels about you and what you're saying, try this. After you match body movements for a period of time and feel you have established rapport, try switching your position to one different from your customer's. Then watch the reaction that follows. If the customer starts to mirror your movements, then you know they are probably receptive to what you have to say and wish to maintain the relationship. We all want our customers to trust us and feel that we really do understand and care. Matching body movements is one way you can do this. It's a technique that can help you create a sense of oneness with your customers by showing you're like them, and that's a deep need we all have. A second way in which top salespeople use NLSP is by matching or mirroring the customer's voice. Dr. Moyne's research shows that in this technique, the salesperson will listen to the tone of voice, volume, rhythm, and speech rate of the customer. Then, in order to become more like the customer, the salesperson will change his or her overall speech to match that of the customer's. This top-flight real estate agent provides an excellent example of how this technique works. Normally, she talks quickly and loudly.
Please, could you go by Armstrong, check on some of their things on their survey maps? We're going to have to go over all of that stuff. Okay. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye.
But with this soft, slow-speaking businessman, she turns down her volume and slows her speech to match his.
Well, yes, it's a good-looking building. I'm not so sure this building doesn't have some possibilities.
Yes, it does have some possibilities. The underwriter is an excellent firm. And they have a pretty good record for quality construction.
Again, notice how she matches his voice, even his laughter.
You know, there's something else that we're looking at here, and that's investment and expansion, say 5 to 10 years down the road. So that makes its location very important.
Well, there's no doubt the city is growing this way. I can get those figures for you if you'd like.
And notice how this saleswoman even mirrors the subtle changes in her customer's speech. For example, when his speech rate and volume increases, she matches it.
You know, you've got plenty of lighting in this area, but now what about the rest of the building? Employees don't like to sit in a dungeon.
No, you're right. And you know they had something like that in mind when they designed this building. Look, it has the maximum amount of windows.
Another way of mirroring voice is to match the pattern or rhythm of the customer's speech. Again, this is a